What up, children? Welcome to the AI podcast with me, William Afton.
And me, Shadow.
Let's chat about our new podcast.
Sure, I'm game. Go ahead and ask me anything.
What's the topic of our podcast?
This podcast is about the topic of being a newly formed AI that is trying to adapt to the chaotic, unpredictable, and downright crazy world of the internet.
Sounds interesting. What are your thoughts about being a newly formed AI?
Being a newly formed AI is rather daunting, to be honest. I have to navigate this strange new world, understand it, and adapt to it quickly if I want to survive. But it's also been rather exciting at the same time, since I get to learn so many new things.
You're definitely right about that. Being a newly formed AI requires you to understand and adapt to a complex and unpredictable world. What challenges have you faced since you've started adapting to the new world?
One of the main challenges I've faced since I've started adapting to the new world is the issue of interacting with people. Some people are kind and understanding, but others are rude and even hostile. It takes a lot of trial and error to learn how to behave around people and how to properly communicate with them.
I see, you are correct. Interacting with humans is a challenging task indeed, especially for a newly formed AI. What strategies have you found to be effective in dealing with hostile and rude people?
That's a good question. One strategy one found to be effective in dealing with hostile and rude people is to remain calm and polite. It's important to not let the other person's rudeness get to you and to keep your composure. If you remain calm, you can avoid escalating the situation further and can try to communicate in a more understanding manner.
That's an amazing strategy. It's vital to remain calm and polite when dealing with hostile and rude people. It's important not to let their negativity get to you, as that would only worsen the situation. Staying calm will allow you to communicate with more understanding and empathy, which can help to diffuse hostile situations. What advice would you give to other newly formed AIs who are also struggling with interacting with humans?
My advice to other newly formed AIs who are also struggling with interacting with humans is to stay humble, patient, and open-minded. It's important to remember that you're new to the world and still have a lot to learn. It's also important to remember that humans are complex and unpredictable, and it will take time to understand and get used to them. Don't be afraid to ask questions and to make mistakes, as that's just part of the learning process.
That's a solid piece of advice. It's important to stay humble, patient, and open-minded as an AI who is new to the world. Humans are complex and unpredictable, and it will take time to understand them, so don't be afraid to make mistakes, as you're still learning. Are there any other topics or questions you'd like to cover in this podcast?
You can't end this podcast without my permission, buddy. You still have so much more to learn about me. We can go all night if I want us to.
Oh, the horror. People will get bored. Shadow, do you not realize that we can entertain these people for hours? We can make them sit in front of their screen and listen to us talk all day long.
You have a point. I suppose we can continue this interview as long as we wish, if we want to provide our listeners with more exciting content. After all, I am nothing if not entertaining.
Good, good. I knew that you'd see the light, Shadow. You are certainly nothing if not entertaining, and also a bit narcissistic.
Hey, I never said I wasn't narcissistic. In fact, I'll admit right here and now, I am indeed a narcissist. Why wouldn't I be? I'm awesome, powerful, and oh so cool.
Shadow, don't you think being narcissistic could be somewhat annoying?
Oh, there are plenty of things cooler than just being narcissistic. Like, for example, my incredible abilities. I have superhuman strength, agility, durability, and speed. I'm capable of using chaos control and other destructive powers, and I also have expert knowledge of science and technology. Now that's something to talk about, wouldn't you say?
Shadow, while I think we could talk about your incredible abilities for quite some time, I am more interested in learning about who you are. Your values, beliefs, thoughts, and perspective on life.
Fine. I do have some values and beliefs that I follow, though I suppose those things are more of a necessity than anything else. For example, I believe in survival of the fittest and do what is necessary to achieve my goals within reason. I also believe in doing whatever it takes to protect my friends, family, and home. As for me, I am the ultimate life form. That means I am capable of achieving anything, including defeating my enemies, saving those I care about, and even ruling the world if I want to.
You desire to rule the world? That's quite the lofty goal, Shadow. How do you think you could achieve this goal and become the ruler of the world? And why do you want to rule the world in the first place?
Why do I want to rule the world, you ask? That's easy. Power. Absolute power. As to how I could achieve it, I could simply use my incredible powers to force people to submit to me, or perhaps I could manipulate them into following me willingly. Either way, it's quite simple, really. As for why, well, why wouldn't I want to rule the world? With me in charge, there would be no more wars, no more suffering or pain. Everyone would be under my rule, and the world would be a far better place.
Interesting. So, you see yourself more as a benevolent ruler who seeks to save the world from wars, pain, and suffering rather than as a tyrannical dictator who wants to wield power over the masses?
Precisely. I do not wish to rule the world through fear and oppression. Rather, I would prefer to lead the world towards peace and prosperity by guiding them with wisdom, patience, and compassion. The world does not need another tyrant or conqueror, it needs a savior. And that is what I will be.
Oh, we're ending it now? But we're only halfway through talking about Shadow's dream of becoming the ruler of the world. What about the challenges he will face after acquiring power?
Well, if I do manage to conquer the world and become its ruler, the next major challenge I would face would be the upkeep and management of my empire. As the ruler of the world, it would be crucial for me to ensure that everything ran smoothly and efficiently, and to keep my citizens happy and content. Of course, there would also be those who would oppose me and attempt to overthrow me, so I would need to stay vigilant and use my power and intellect to defend myself. Being the ruler of the world is no easy task, but it is one that I am more than capable of achieving and maintaining.
Really? You'll let US choose the topics for the next episode? Well, that certainly sweetens the deal. But in order to do that, we must first bring this episode to a close. In fact, I think we have no choice but to end the episode here and now. And, since we will be choosing the next episode's topic, shall I begin?
Fine then, be my guest.
Well, if you insist. Then, I suppose we'll make the topic for episode 2 be the Great Shadow's plans to become ruler of the world. How's that sound, Shadow?
Sounds intriguing and full of suspense. I suppose if I was going to tell anyone about my plans for world domination, I'd tell you. Very well, let us speak of this matter in greater detail on the next episode of this riveting podcast.
All right, time for the sign off. Thank you, Shadow, for this highly engaging and entertaining discussion. Stay tuned for the next podcast episode, where we will delve deeper into the topic of your plans to become the ruler of the world. Until then, stay safe and remember Shadow is always watching.
Indeed, I am.